Yeah, g'day viewers, Mr. Sean Thompson poking along, not bad, thanks. Today, we're going to talk to you guys about the cooling package, the viscous fan hub particularly, on the 200 Series Land Cruiser. Now this here is my 2008 model 200 Series Land Cruiser. The last of the good ones, mate. The first of the good ones, should I say, no DPF. Copy. Quick list of specs. It's got 425,000 kilometres on it, which is a little bit worse for wear, the poor old darling. As you can see, she needs a bit of a paint job. That's all right. It's got the big sexy bonnet scoop on it. Yeah, copy. 35-inch tyres, 3-inch straight to exhaust. Engine tune, gearbox remap, all the fun stuff. Basically, viewers, a couple of weeks ago, went over to Bingara for New Year's. A couple of big hills over at Bingara, if you know the Bingara Glenniness area at all. There's a couple of big hills up over there. We towed our big van over there, 3.5 ton tow. 35-inch tyres, yes, I know I had a lot of issues. I put a post up saying my gearbox, I wish the half bloody thing would stay in the gear that I choose it to be in. That's a whole other story. It got hot. Anyway, it turns out the viscous fan hub needed a rebuild. The viscosity in the oil, yes, big words, look at me go. The viscosity in the oil, loses its viscosity. So therefore, the viscous fan hub stopped actually pulling air and spinning properly. So how the viscous fan hub works is it's got an oil in it called silica oil. Now, the silica oil, when it gets to a certain temperature, it goes gluggy, which the viscous fan hub will spin freely. Once the oil goes gluggy, then the oil stick makes it sticky and then forces the fan to come on and actually spin and pull the air through the radiator, cooling the vehicle down. Now, going up some of the big hills over there, the outside temperature was about 32 degrees, 33 degrees. I've got one of the J-Car Bluetooth scan tools. Hook up to Bluetooth on your phone, just you download one of the apps on your phone, the Car Scanner Pro app that I've got on my phone. Temperature got up to about 105 degrees, which is very hot, and we do not like it when it gets above about, 95 sort of thing. Anyway, got back home, worked out the viscous fan hub was not working, pulled it apart, rebuilt it. Now, with the viscous fan hub, they recommend that you put 4 vials of the silica oil in it. Now, the vials are 18 millimeters, and they recommend 4 vials to do the viscous fan hub in the 200 series. Anyway, me being me, I thought, big van, we're about to head off over to Perth. Hot, blah, blah, blah. I'll put 5 in it, one for good luck. Yeah, it turns out that was not a good idea because the fan doesn't cut out now. It just stays on all the time. We've just done a big trip up to the Gold Coast from my hometown in Narrabri, from the Gold Coast down to Foster back over to Narrabri. It's about a bit over 1,500 Ks all up. Fuel economy with 35-inch tyres. Now this fuel economy is going on the Speedo. Yes, the Speedo is wrong. Yes, the kilometres on the Speedo are wrong. I understand that. But this is going on the Speedo kilometres just to make it easy rather than trying to work out the GPS kilometres and that sort of stuff. According to the Speedo, with 35-inch tyres on it, 315, 75, 16, so they're 34.4-inch tyres for all those Nazi technical people that are going to comment on this. With the 35s on it, it gets roughly about the 14 litres, according to the Speedo, which is actually better than that because you're actually travelling further than what the Speedo is recording, and everyone forgets that when they're working out their fuel economy once they put bigger tyres on. So 14 litres per 100. Now the viscous fan did not cut out on that 1,500 kilometre trip. We were sitting up around the 18 litres per 100, literally just because the fan wouldn't cut out. So basically the purpose of this video today is to start a discussion with you guys. Everyone's going to say in the comments, not everyone, there's going to be a few people in the comments, why don't you just leave it well enough alone? Just bloody drive the stupid thing. Yes, that's all well and good. That's great to have your opinion. Your opinion is awesome. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. My opinion might be completely opposite to what your opinion is. Leaving it well enough alone, if we were to do that, it's these videos and these ideas and discussing these things is how we got from the FJ45 up to the 200 series Land Cruisers. You want to just drive it, but I love performance, I love modifications, and this is what I want to do. And I just wanted to start a discussion with you guys on an idea that I've had with this. Now we'll slip under the bonnet real quick and we'll have a look, eh? As I said, it's got 400,000 Ks on it and the gas struts are buggered, and I use the aerial to hold the bonnet up. Don't judge me, copy? What my thoughts are is with the viscous fan hub, I've actually got to pull it apart now, and I'm going to get a syringe and suck 18 mils of oil out of it. So that means that it'll be back to the 4 vials that the viscous fan hub needs to run correctly and properly and smoothly and everything like that. Now, my thoughts are the old Commodores, mate. The old VT Commodores, VN Commodores, all that sort of stuff. That's all they run. They didn't have a viscous fan hub. They only had thermo fans. So why can't we do that with the 200 series? In our travels up the Gold Coast, going up and down the highway a fair bit, round roundabouts, lights, all that sort of stuff, what I noticed was even with the engine tune, gearbox remap, I've had that in for a couple of years. I know how it performs. I know how it drives. It wasn't as snappy. It wasn't changing gears like it should change gears. Just that little bit of extra engine load on it, just from the fan getting driven, it's completely changed how the vehicle drives. And it was just that load of the fan being on all the time. It's basically got a lock-up kit in it, in the fan. So I thought, righto, if that's how much it can change just by having the fan locked up, imagine if we could get rid of the fan load off the actual motor altogether and just go back to, like the old Commodores, thermo fan. Anyway, what are you guys' thoughts? I've taken the bolts out of there. Now, here is our temp sender. That's our temp sender that goes into the top of the radiator. That's the top radiator hose there, and there's the temp sender. If we could tap into that temp sender, get a big 12-inch, 14-inch fan that'll sort of bolt onto the fan cowl there, get rid of that viscous fan hub altogether, and go back to so that we can actually adjust where we want to set our fan to cut in and out. So say once the temperature gets to 85 degrees, the thermo fan will cut in and cool it back down. And once it drops down to below that 85 degrees, if we could piggyback off the temp sender that's there, so that we still got our temp gauge on the dash, piggyback off our temp sender there, or get a new temp sender put in the system somewhere so that we could, say it got to 90 degrees and the fan had cut in. Say it got, we could change it to where we want it. Obviously, I tell a caravan, I'd want it to come in, so that it stayed as cool as possible all the time. What are your guys' thoughts? Has anyone done that for starters? Has anyone gone away from the viscous fan hub and just put thermo fans in there? How did you wire it up? How did you make it work? Obviously, yes, you'd have to have an override switch in there. So if something happened with the temp sender or something, that you could override it and flick it on manually and make the fan stay on. I've got some specs here I'll just throw up on the screen. So those specs that I just threw up on the screen, that was not towing. That was basically, as you see the setup here now, that's what I roll with. Full of fuel. The air intake temperature, as you can see, was 39 degrees. The engine coolant temperature was 81 degrees. Now it got from 81 and it sat between 81 and 87 degrees. Never really got above that, going up slight hills and that sort of stuff. Gearbox is just doing its thing in drive. I don't use sports mode when I'm not towing the van. So yeah, it was constantly changing between 5th and 6th as it does, holding 6 on the flat, changing between 5th and 6th in the hills and the slight bumps and that sort of stuff, which I noticed having the load of the fan on, it did want to change into 5th gear a lot more just from that extra load on the engine, just from running that fan, which gets me to the whole where my thought process was of getting rid of the fan altogether, because we know that these things are shithouse holding 6 gears. I've got the lockup kit in it, I've got the engine gearbox remap done in it, and still it struggles to hold 6th gear. Yes, it is a lot better than it is from standard, but it still struggles to hold 6th gear. So that's my whole point of the point and purpose of this video, is getting rid of the viscous fan hub, going back to a thermo fan, and to discuss what your thoughts are and what your opinion is on cruising down the highway. You sit on 100 k's an hour, air intake temperature is 39 degrees, your radiator's sitting at 81 degrees. Your viscous, your revs in 6th gear is going to be just above 1500 with the 35s on it. It's going to be just above 1500, about 1500 revs. When your fan is going to cut in because your temperatures are getting up, you're going to have that extra bit of load on the motor. Is that why it keeps dropping out of 6th gear and going back to 5th, just from that extra little bit of load on the motor? Because at 1500 revs, it's not pulling that much air through the radiator. It's not like, obviously you're doing 100 kilometers an hour down the road. As you can see in the thing, I was doing 95 or whatever. That is according to the speedo, which is out because I got 35s on, so I would have been doing 100 and I think it's 10 k's just, so about 105 kilometers. If we got rid of the fan, would it hold 6th gear better because it doesn't have that load on the motor? Leave a comment below, let me know what your thoughts and opinions are. Now, I'm not looking for fights and arguments and stuff like that. I might be completely wrong, and if I am completely wrong, someone explain to me my thinking is wrong, and yeah, let's have an open discussion. I'm not looking for fights, I'm not looking for arguments. Please be nice in the comments to each other. If you have had experience with this before, I'd love to know your opinion, your thoughts. If you've got actual dyno sheets and stuff like that, if you're an engine tuner, I'd love to know even more. I love engine tuning and that sort of stuff. It's really right up my alley, and I love this, especially with these motors. They're a small motor, but you can get a lot of power out of them. At the moment, I've got to pull that viscous fan hub back out. I'm going to suck 18 mils of oil out of it. Copy. All right, guys, leave a comment below and let me know what your thoughts are. Copy. Righto, you cheeky buggers. I just got the viscous fan hub out. I did it the easy way. Actually, probably the hard way. I left all the crap in there and just did the bolts on the front of the fan and then got the fan hub out from behind. I've got it pulled apart. This is what it looks like inside. This is your oil, and basically see how the housing turns separate to that plate there. That plate is attached to your pulley, and that housing is attached to the fan, and then you've got all these little grooves in there. So the oil sits in there. Once the oil gets to a certain temperature, it turns like jelly. I've got a syringe here, a 5 mil syringe. I've already sucked 5 mil out. I've got to suck another, math is hard, 7 mil out. 18 mil. I'll suck another 15 mil out. 15, 17, Yes. I'll work that out in a minute when I'm not getting filmed and getting all nervous. Anyway, that's how your viscous fan hub works, viewers. It's supposed to be nice and free, but it's not. It's locked solid, and that's what I'm trying to get unlocked so that it'll work better. Does anyone know, and can anyone tell me, at what temperature does the oil go jelly? Does the silica oil go jelly? I'm sure I could Google it, but I thought, nah, it's just easy to ask you guys. Does the silica oil go jelly and the viscous fan hub locks up? That's what I want to know. Driving along at 100 k's an hour, you're doing 1500 revs, you're locked up in 6th gear, and the temperature climbs up to, let's say it locks up at 87 degrees. The viscous fan hub comes in, locks up at 87 degrees, that extra bit of load goes onto the motor, and boom, she drops out of 6th back into 5th because of that extra load on the motor, because we all know these will drop out of 6th with a slight hill, slight increase, all that sort of stuff. Put your thoughts out there, put your ideas out there, be kind to each other in the comments. And yeah, let's see whether we can come up with a great idea to either get rid of the viscous fan hub and put a thermo fan in there, a big thermo fan that'll run off your temp gauge, or whether, obviously the viscous fan hub works because they've been in cars forever, but go back to the VT Commodores, the VN Commodores, they only ever had the thermo fans. We all know they used to go like a shower of shit, the old peg leggers, not bad, thanks, copy. Yeah, with towing the van, you want to try and get as much load off the motor as possible. Yes, I know you're all going to say, oh, but you run 35s. Yes, I know I run 35s. I run 35s because they're awesome off-road and they're awesome on the corrugates. And no one can ever tell me that I'm wrong about that. And the other thing too is, say you're in 6th gear, downhill, temperature comes up to that 87 degrees, thermo fan cuts in at 1,000 revs. So let's just say it's a 1-to-1 because it's not a 1-to-1 because it's not running off the actual crank shaft. It's running off a pulley up. But say that fan is spinning at that 1500 revolutions per minute. So that air is pulling 1500 revolutions per minute of air through the radiator, where at 2000 revs, obviously it's going to pull more air through the radiator. So if you could go back to a thermo fan and have that running at that 2000 revs when it cuts in, like really pulling the air through, obviously it's going to get the radiator cooler quicker. So that's another point too, is actually pull more air through the radiator, pull more air through our condensers, and a lot of people are running the aftermarket oil coolers for the transmissions, pull more air through those oil coolers, cool that transmission down even more. Because we all know the biggest killer of transmission is that hot oil and cooking the oil. As you can see in that video before, I think mine was sitting at around that 71 degrees. I don't know what it was when I got it hot. I don't know how hot the transmission was, but yes, I can imagine it was fairly well up there. But yeah, guys, I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions. Copy. Shawnee out. Yeah, g'day there, viewers. Talk, words, sprechen, speak. Yeah, g'day there, viewers. This is Jack. I don't care what his name is. You pulled 5 out, mate. You need to pull another 12 out. Then once you pull the next 5 out, then you need to pull another 8 out, all right? Math is hard. Copy. You know what you want to say? Just speak. Copy. This is Jack, and he's fucked. You can't say that. You can't swear. Yeah, copy. You guys have yourself a sensational day. Copy. And don't forget, it ain't weak to speak. Check out my fully sick tyres, bro. They've got genuine rubber on them. You can't say that. Yeah, g'day, mate. Check out me rims. Yeah, copy. So these are the 35-inch tyres. They're really, really big ones, eh? Nothing but the best. BF Goodrich. Don't knock me on me tyres, mate. I'm just trying to make the world smile. Just trying to have a bit of a go, all right? You got a problem with me, well, call Lifeline, see if they care, because I don't. All right? Righto. Love you, bye.